Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. Welcome to Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina. I'm doing a little shorty today where I'm going to talk about what's going on with the third district supervisorial race and generally speaking, just raising money for campaigns. Okay. So I'm like blown away, stunned, and I can't believe what I'm seeing. So I just want to do a little education for those of you who think otherwise. I know there are people who agree with me, and there are a lot of people who don't understand what's going on. You need money to win campaigns. It is just a fact. And what Frank Troyce is trying to do, either he's like this brilliant political strategist who nobody understands yet, he's like this person who's reinvented everything, and it's going to take years for us to figure out how he did it. Or he just blew the opportunity of a lifetime for Republicans looking to swing the third district seat in a massive blunder, a colossal political blunder. Now, I've interviewed Frank, right? And Frank, when I talk to him, he seems like a sensible guy, but I've also expressed to him how you win campaigns. And in my years and years and years of journalism covering all this stuff, the way you win campaigns is by raising money. Like you have to raise money. It's how we live in this world. Like you have to have money to buy things. You have to have money to live places. You have to have money to be able to interact in the world. So why would you approach a political campaign, especially a conservative Republican who's business minded, and not raise money to fund your campaign? What is wrong with him? Like, I don't understand this. And this is not a judgment of him. Like, Janelle Osborne is doing the same thing, but I'm focusing on Frank because he has got so much like energy around him in terms of his financial plan and his way to raise money for the county and increase revenues by millions and millions of dollars. So it doesn't add up. And so there's three things you need for a campaign. Money. Money is number one. You need to raise lots of money to win a county supervisor seat and to unseat an incumbent. You need to raise like 300 grand. And even then, it's not competitive. Okay. I mean, it's not a guarantee. You got to raise a ton of money. Okay. You need a message, number two. Like you need to have something you say over and over and over and over again. And you just drive that home to the public. Okay. And number three, you need organization. You need people on the ground working on your behalf in order to get people to vote for you. It's not that complicated, okay? This is why the Santa Barbara County Democratic Party is so successful and where they deserve a bazillion compliments because they actually work. They actually have an organization and they try to turn out the vote. They don't assume people are going to vote Democrat just because they, like Democrats in national office. They get volunteers, they knock on doors, they do door hangers, they do mailings, they do phone calls, they do all of that because they know it's work to get people to vote on election day. And I don't understand why Republicans can't try to do something different. Here's the thing. Republicans, for whatever reason, think that what's happening on the national landscape, that's what's happening in your dining rooms, your conversations, your kitchen conversations with your friends, that is what the rest of the world thinks. Okay. That is not true. You cannot grow, you cannot do anything in this world if you only try to talk to the people who already agree with you. That's a recipe for stunted growth, okay? In order for you to make an impact on the world, to make change, to make a difference, you have to meet people where they're at and try to get them to understand a different perspective. And you have to understand a different perspective. That's the only way you make change. Change doesn't happen in your world where you do things the same way all the time. It happens when you go out there and change people's perspectives. Republicans don't seem to understand this. To win, you have to raise a ton of money and you have to convince people to vote for you. Money, message, and organization. You do not win because you want to. You do not win because you think you have great ideas. I would love to be quarterback, right? I would love to play for the Rams, okay? I'd love to boot Matthew Stafford out and go in there and beat the Lions in the NFC Championship. I can't do that because I want to, and I can't do that because I think I have a good arm and I throw the ball 50 yards. I can't do that. The only way you do that is you practice every day, like your entire life. Commit to that. You have to make it happen. And even then, it's not a guarantee. And it's the same thing in politics. The only way you can actually get anywhere is by raising money over and over and over, picking up the phone, having your supporters try to do this. You can't do it because you want to. And then, so I talked to Frank Troyce and I talked to his campaign manager, and the idea is, oh, there's tons of free media, right? There's these forums that are happening, there's news articles that are happening. Let me tell you something. Let me talk to you. Journalists do not cover political events because lots of people read those stories. We do not cover politics because they get lots of web clicks. We cover politics because it is our obligation in a free democracy to be able to hold our government accountable. And so we have that right responsibility to do it. Most people don't read those stories. You know, the stories people read, they read crime stories. Okay. They read stories about housing. They read stories about education. They don't read stories about people wanting to run for office. It's not that interesting to them. And most people don't even vote or decide to vote until the day of or the night before. And some people will try to figure it out. You can't do that. You can't just like think that you're going to be able to win an election because you want to, right? So here's the deal. Republicans, you need to figure out a way to get your message out there. And the only way to get your message out there is by having money to spend to advertise. Our entire society is based on advertising. Okay. Everything we do, we can't go anywhere without seeing an advertisement. That's what funds everything in this world. Okay. Some people give money. Some organizations rely on supplemental money and donations, and government, uses taxes and fees, but advertising is the only way to get your message out. So you can't sit there and say, oh, the free ink that you get is going to be enough. No, and those forums, okay, those forums are important. They're not making a difference in voter turnout. They are not. Most of the people who go to forums kind of have a viewpoint already. Some people might change their mind. But if you're taking the time out of your day to go to a forum, that means that you're probably already kind of like interested in this stuff. And so you already have a perspective. Okay. You cannot win based off of those things. Okay. Realistically, the Santa Barbara Independent Forum is probably the most important forum because they're going to make an endorsement, and the independent endorsement can win an election for you if it's close already on its own, because that's people read that and they take that to the vote and they check off those lists. That's the power of newspapers, and they're the only newspaper who makes endorsements. Maybe the Montecito Journal does too, but the Independent has been around so long and is influential in that area. So that's a forum where you're not even trying to impress the crowd. You're trying to impress the editors, the people who are on the team to make those endorsements. Okay. So that one counts, but that alone is not enough. So Frank Troyce has raised like $2,800, and then he shows a deficit as well. Like there's some kind of debt or loan that he's got to pay back later. I mean, it's a joke. Like, you cannot win with that kind of money. And then he's got this calculus of he's going to make it into the runoff, and then I guess turn it up a few notches and win in November. Okay, like I said, maybe he's like the genius of us all, the future. We don't see what he sees. Okay, but I mean, there is a chance that could happen. He could make it to the runoff. Joan Hartman doesn't win 50.1%. But that's a huge risk. Okay, huge risk. And even then, it becomes one-on-one, and Joan's already got $170,000 in the bank. Like there's already that advantage. And so that matters. Okay. So it's I don't care if it's Republicans or Democrats. I'm not saying this because Frank's a Republican and Joan's this or that. I'm a journalist. I like the story. I cover the story. The story is what matters. Okay. Deep down, of course, I have viewpoints, but journalistically, the story is the story. And so you're never going to unseat an incumbent when you come into February in a March 5th primary with $2,600. It's just impossible. Maybe like John Palmentary could do that because he's maybe the most well-known name in our town. Like maybe someone like that, but even then, probably not because you need to raise money. It's just a fact. So unless you're like a massive local celebrity or national celebrity, like Oprah wouldn't need to raise any money. Okay, that makes sense. But that's not who Frank Troyce is. And Janelle Osborne has raised $100, mayor of Lompoc, again, but she got into it late. She has the seat she's going to fall back on as being Lompoc mayor. She has nothing to lose because all she does is raise her her name and her profile. And she's saying, hey, I'm running on the issues, right? But Frank Troyce is an investment banker. That's what it says on his thing, is his uh, form, his ballot statement. Okay. Like what you're telling me that you're going to go in there and raise millions and millions and millions of dollars for the county, but you're not raising money for your campaign? That's just like does not add up. And also, you still like bottom line, you need to get your name out there to people. Doss Williams in the first district, he knows how to raise money. That is the best thing he does is raise money for campaigns. Okay. So he's got like 200 and something thousand, 260, 40, 50. I don't know. So he's got a lot of money, right? Winning office is different than serving an office. It's two entirely different games. To win, you have to raise money. If you accept money from basically everybody but oil, which is what Doss Williams does, cannabis, unions, people running for office outside of Santa Barbara, LA developers, right? Like that's politically smart because you need money to get your name out there. Okay. So why don't play the game if you're not planning to win the game. Like that's so important. And then Roy Lee, I think he's got like $17,000 or something like that. He's the candidate for the first district. I mean, you just can't win. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what you think. You're not really running a race on the issues. You're running a race on how many people know who you are when it comes to voting. And if you can't take your financial fundraising seriously enough, voters are not going to know who you are. And the argument that I want to run on the issues and money should not be a factor. I don't want to buy my way into elections. That's nonsense because you're running against people trying to buy their way into elections. So if there were caps that you both agreed to and you could only spend that much, that would be one thing. But you can't have that attitude when you're going up against somebody who's raising as much money as possible. So we're about a month away from the March 5th primary, and conventional wisdom would say Joan Hartman is going to win. Probably outright, maybe not outright, but she's definitely going to come in first. Doss Williams is clearly going to win. Okay, there's just not enough money there, and for all those people privately who hate Doss Williams, if you want to unseat Doss Williams, you're going to have to speak out because whisper campaigns do not reach voters. Okay. Pointing out people's bad attitudes and personalities and manipulative tendencies do not reach voters. Okay. You have to put your money where your mouth is. So all those people, really, you only have yourself to blame because you're not going to, donate money. You're not going to endorse the other candidate. then that's on you. Okay. So Dos Williams is going to win. And that's just how it is because those candidates know what they're doing. They know what the game is. They know how to win. And you cannot win political campaigns because you think you can. You have to do the work. Okay. So I just wanted to say that. And, that's not a partisan thing, right? Anyone who knows me knows what I sort of think, but I'm a journalist. Okay. Journalists, you got to cover all this stuff for everybody. And that's my perspective. Please subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. Share it with a friend. Visit santabarbaratalks.com. Consider making a contribution. This podcast is done by me. I own it, and I do it on the side of all my other jobs. And thank you. Appreciate your time. Have a great day.